Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Brian, Career Advice UK, and I'm coming live to you for about the next hour or so, taking your questions on anything career related. This includes, but not limited to, CVs, cover letters, interview, how to answer interview questions, talking about the current job market in the UK, applying to university for programs, career impact of AI, starting your own business, and more. So if you have a question, put it down below. I also, what is your question section to? Um, I only do, career related type of questions. And I do ask if you want to join. I will try. I've had a few issues hearing people, so it's always been a little bit of a challenge, but I will try. But I do need to know beforehand what the career related question is so I can be ready to answer it. About me, I do run on TikTok, Career Advice UK. I do most of the content on career related topics. It is, if you are wanting to work in a convenience store, um, it is entry level. And it's not going to be, it is going to be about the same regardless. Because it is entry level, it is retail, and retail does tend to be one of the lower paying sectors. So it is a bit competitive. I would probably say any convenience store would be the best one to apply to because I think they would be paying typically about the same. It does. They do. Again, it is retail. And again, there may be a little bit of a difference between like a convenience store and a grocery store in the way of pay. Of course, you do have probably a bit more opportunities for advancement, training, and development. But again, it is really just, I think, really just the same for you. I think when you're talking retail, it is always going to be the lower end. I think you may be a bit better off if you're looking at pay to apply to a grocery store versus a convenience store due to convenience stores tending to be a bit more of a risk in the way of theft. They tend to be smaller stock. People tend to only go there when they need something. So again, pay does vary. Hours do vary. I think grocery stores tend to be a bit more stable because it is a bit, I think, a bigger store, bigger, less risk. Okay, so that's going to take a bit more if you're thinking about if you want to be a K-9 handler. Again, I think you do need to do a little bit more training. If you want to work in the police, again, probably additional education, A levels, probably criminal justice, and being able to understand animal behavior. So you may want a bit of background in animals to take a look and try to get into the police force, ask about volunteering opportunities, and start to get yourself known with the police force. Because I know in the U.S., and so just bear, yes, take a look and get in contact with the police in your local area and ask if they're running the volunteer police cadets. It's a good way if you're looking to be K-9 handler. It gives you the opportunity to get yourself known, get yourself seen, start to network, and start to understand what the role involves. And goodbye, Jonathan. We don't need disruptive people, so goodbye. So, hasta la vista, Jonathan. So go with volunteer police cadets. Get in contact with your police department, ask about police cadets, and we will then see. It will help you to get your route into becoming a K-9 handler. You may be able to get some experience, and they can best guide you on what are the qualifications that they're looking for, what type of background. Do you need to start out first as a police officer to become a handler, or are there other ways to get into it? So it's always good. Yes, the cadets are 13 to 18. Yes, you are still within the cadets age range. Ask them, get in contact and see if they are running it, because each one will just run their own program. So it may be a way for you to get in. If they don't, they still may be able to point you into the right direction so you can get some experience, some knowledge, at least some idea what a K-9 handler involves. Good question. Thank you for asking. So if you are just joining and you do like the live feed, please please share, and please follow. And if you do feel inclined but don't feel as though you have to, please send gifts, because it really does help me to know what people are liking and what, hey, no problem, section 2. That's what I'm here for. And so send gifts, because if you do, like I said, don't feel inclined, but if you do, it does help me to know what people like, what is resonating with people, and helps me to plan my content. Also, too, to let you know, I do run and founded Leap Forward Careers, and it is focused on helping those trying to navigate the UK job market. I am currently offering free CV review. If you want somebody to take a look at your CV, I will do it. Just message me with the word CV on TikTok, and I will get back to you. You will need to ensure that your account is activated to allow messages from outside. If it's not, I will not be able to contact you regarding the free CV review. As a part of my service, I do also offer interviewing support, interviewing advice, how to prepare for interviews. I also help people and support people when they are looking for jobs, coming up with a plan, career changes, anything career related. If you have a question, you can always contact me on TikTok or visit leapstartcareers.com. And there's a whole slew of information, templates, guides. Some are free, some are a minor charge. And if you're looking for services and support, there is a section on it. So, getting back to the question here, we were talking a little bit about police forces and becoming a K-9 handler. And those are the type of questions I have. And so one of the questions I think all of us in the UK are wondering, what does Andy Burnham, pose for us? What does it mean in the way of vacancies, in job and improvement in the outlook? And for me, in my own personal opinion, I'm a little concerned, because we did have the rise on national insurance, and when it jumped from 13.8 to 15%, it basically killed new jobs and vacancies, and we are now sitting at about 707,000 vacancies, with less than 10,000 graduate job schemes available. What that means for graduates who are graduating university or finishing with their A levels, it means that it is a very highly competitive job market for them. That's not at 16. It's not going to be, you're not going to get something with a good pay. You're going to get right around minimum, UK minimum for, at that level. And most of the jobs that are available for 16, because there are a lot of legal restrictions on what 16-year-olds can do and how long they can work. It is the most likely ones would be retail and hospitality and like restaurant. It is those three basic areas, and they do pay at the minimum wage area. If you're looking to get something more than just kind of minimum, the only way to do it is start your own business. And in a very competitive market right now, when prices are rising and people are spending less, it's a very hard uphill battle with that. Yeah, I think you're going to. Okay, so Rams, the editor, what are you looking for? What is the next step? What have you done? What is your next step? Because it may be, the issue may be for you, maybe just something trying to break it down a little bit. You may be trying to take a bigger gap, a bigger jump than what the market will allow. Because right now, with the job market the way it is in the UK, it is very competitive. The employers are taking their sweet old time, because roughly what we are talking about, when you factor in people who are looking to make career changes, or people looking to apply for different jobs or move into a different role, what you are finding right now, on average, when you factor that in plus unemployed, you're finding that it's about 3 people for every job vacancy. That means roughly there are about 2.1 million people applying for 707,000 vacancies. And so if you are trying to make a career change right now, and that's what I work with people doing, is who are wanting to make a career change. I do have a roadmap for career change. What you need to really start to do is understand, okay, so you have the experience. Okay. What you really, and that's a good question. A lot of people do ask that question. And thank you for asking that, Rams. What you really need to do when you're applying in a highly competitive job market like this, like I said, there's about 2.1 million applicants for 707,000 jobs. Thank you for the follow, Rams. What you need to do is really take your time when you are applying for jobs. Don't sit there and just kind of, what I say, carpet bomb the marketplace with your job, with your CV. What does that mean? You send out the same CV to everyone that looks even remotely that may hire you because of your skill background. So you're doing maybe matching 50 or 60%, and those people are not going to hire you because it is too competitive. What you need to be doing is being very strategic. Look at that job description and try to match up your skills and background and experience to about 80% plus to be really considered. And so if you have, some type of post-production and contact specialist experience, the best thing to do, the best thing to do for you, I would say, would be to take your time, look for those roles where those experiences can come in and you based on your previous experience and education and training and background, pretty much match up about, like I said, 80%. Because if you don't, and you just start applying, you're not going to get the roles or the interviews. You won't be getting the interviews to get the roles. And what you really need to do at that point is, even before you do that, start to do a bit of a gap analysis. Start to take a look at, if you're looking for kind of like the post-production content specialist roles, take a look at what do they require for those roles. What types of skills do you currently have? What types of experiences do you have? What is your education? What is your background? And start to see what it is that you're still missing. And if there is something you're missing, then how do you get it? To kind of fill that gap. Do you need to do additional training? Do you need additional support? Do you just need to be in a role a little bit longer? It is, in a way, it is start to look at that. Also, too, what I would recommend, it may not be something that always helps, but it may be something you can use, is to start to develop a portfolio of things that you have done that relates to post-production and content specialists. Show things that you've worked on. Show things that you've had an influence on. Things that you have created yourself. And you can start to use that and say, see, this is my portfolio. And it sometimes can, and sometimes it may help you along the way. It's not guaranteed, but it is sometimes something you can show, because I know a lot of times in IT, people who do not have degrees in computer science or don't have, formal training in a programming language, but is able to demonstrate it by creating a portfolio. I've known a lot of people who have received jobs by creating, let's say, a website, coding it, doing the front end, the back end to it, and really just making it very sleek, and been able to demonstrate their IT knowledge and skills that way. So again, it is one of those things that you can potentially use for yourself to help you stand out. It is one of those things, what I would say to you, it is, I think, the most important, that if I was to give you advice, if I would give you advice, it would be simply this. Do a gap analysis, create a portfolio, and take your time. Take your time to, take your time to do it. Take your time to, take your time when you're doing it. Take your time, because if you're just going to rush and just start sending out, just hundreds of CVs, it's not going to work. The other thing I would say is make sure when you're sending off your CV and applying, make sure that you are spending the time to make sure that your skills and experience and background matches the requirements of the role. This means taking the time to write a CV for each one. And again, if you want a second pair of eyes on your CV to say what's working, what's not, I'm offering a free CV review. Just message me and just make sure that you can take messages back. Otherwise, you need to do both. Because one of the things what people don't grasp is when you're sending off your CV, and it is the same one. While while job titles may be similar and requirements are similar, when you send out just the same CV to everyone, what it does say to you is this, to potential employers, is this. It says that you haven't taken the time to read the job description, and there will be usually subtle differences between each role. And if you're not picking up on those subtle differences in your CV, it comes very easily across as though you haven't taken the time to adjust your CV, to write your CV, because it's very easy from sitting from a EMCS. Good to see you back. What it does say to them, and it is very easy from reading CVs myself, selecting CVs for interview and stuff. It's easy to spot those who took the time to write it, and those who just really rushed through it. And that's what happens is when you send off CVs and you use the same one all the time, it gets picked up. It really does stand out, kind of like, instead of in a good way, in a negative way, because it says to them, you didn't take the time to read the job advert. While you may have adjusted your cover letter, you haven't adjusted your CV. And sometimes when you write your CV cover letter to cover the role, but you don't adjust your CV, sometimes there are gaps. And sometimes there are gaps. And what happens then is, and again, when you have a gap and you send it off, it says again to the employer, potential employer, that you haven't taken the time to really be thorough, adjust your CV, adjust your cover letter, and make sure the two fully align. Because your cover letter should be reflective of your CV. And really, your cover letter should be basically a summary of your CV, and kind of helping to guide them on where they should be focusing on, and summarizing it, because they don't spend a lot of time. So it is, my advice to you would be simply this, right? It's different. You don't need to start from scratch every time, and people always think when I say that it means writing a whole entirely. No. What you can do, and what I tend to do, is I usually have about 3 templates of my own CV, and they cover different aspects. One is kind of like contract management, one is IT, and the third is kind of like a teams manager perspective. So then I can use those 3, and then when I find a job, try to match it up, and just making tweaks to it where I need to tweak it one way or the other. And a lot of times it's changing the profile, and then maybe restating some of the tasks that I did, or what I maybe achieved, to better align with what the job description says. So it is a bit of tweaking. It's more about making tweaks to it, and a little fine tuning. So it probably means finger and wind estimate, probably 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how closely the job description aligns with previous CVs you've done. So the more you apply, the more CVs you'll generate. And then as you start applying more, and you start to get copies of those CVs, you can say, this one sounds similar to the role I applied to, at this organization. So you just pick it up, make a few little tweaks to it, and off you go. So again, it's probably, total time, like I said, at worst. Hey, Jake, how are you? at worst, we're talking 15 to 30 minutes. If you are organized, it may even be a lot quicker than that. So it's not like you have to restart. It is just making the tweaks that you need to make sure it lines. So yes, so if you're just joining, you do like the feed, please please share, and please follow. And if you do feel inclined, but don't feel so you have to, please send gifts, because it really does help me to know what resonates with people and what to do my content on. If you're just joining, hey Lucas, thank you for the follow. I'm Brian, Career Advice UK, and I do own and run Leap Forward Careers at leapstartcareers.com. On it, I have several guides on interviewing, job applications, cover letters, disability, and more. So if you take a look, there is something there for you. I do also offer advice and support at an additional fee. You can always message me or arrange schedule a call. The information is on leapstartcareers.com. And at the moment, I am offering a free CV review for you. It costs nothing, no obligation, no pressure, but it does. If you are sending off CVs and getting nothing back, it is a great way to give you some input on what is working, what may need to be tweaked. And again, if you do need some support, I do offer that again, but that's your decision. So let's get back to kind of the question. Had some really good questions about interviewing, and also CVs and cover letters, and making career changes. So it is, like I say, if you are going to make a career change, I do offer Guide Career Change UK 2026 for a small fee, and also I do offer on leapstartcareers.com UK Jobseekers Playbook 2026, helping you through the whole application process for a small fee. So if you are interested in, let me know. It is, if you need the link, just let me know and I will provide it to you. So getting back to the question about making kind of like career changes, what do you really need to do with career change? What you really need to do, it's important. When you're going out looking for a career change, what you need to start to do is look at where you're at now and where is it that you want to go. And it's beginning then to start to break down, what does that look like? Where do you want to go? What is it that you need to do? What, skills, experiences, accomplishments that you have done that will help you to move into your new role. What is it that, it's out there? Sometimes it is just it's simple as reframing some of your skills and highlighting, different ones than maybe you've done previously. And that's why when I was talking a little bit earlier, I mentioned having 3 different templates, because each one focuses on a slightly different skill set for me to emphasize, and then it serves as that basis for me to write that CV, and to write that CV for the role, because it is a lot easier when you have something that already starts to focus on the skill set, then you know which one to head towards. And so that's what it is. Now, would I recommend right now making a big, huge career change? I would probably, in my opinion, I would say probably hold off on it, because it is going to be difficult, because right now the marketplace is really looking at and emphasizing skills over education. So if you have, the education, the training to do the job, but you lack the experience, my own personal opinion, strictly my opinion, I would say to you, hold off, because it is going to be a very difficult struggle for you, because employers right now are looking towards the skills, but you may be able to find something entry level, which may mean taking a significant step down, but you may be able to do it that way, but it may mean taking a step down to do it if it is a big gap. If it is a small gap, and you can highlight your skills and experiences, like I said, sometimes it is, hey, Elliot, good to see you, and Rossi and Joe, good to see everyone. And sometimes it's just easier just to reframe your skills and move into something a little bit different. For me, when I did my career change, I was able to do that because I was working in IT. I've worked with IT contracts as part of my role previously, and then moved into contracts management because I already had my law degree and also the contracting experience. It was very easy just to shift the focus on my CV from the IT skills to the contracting skills. And so it was easy to make that jump. And so for those of you looking to make a career change in this market, probably a Dr. House, it probably will be that way to go. But if it is something where you're going from, let's say, nursing to accounting, and you just finish or just about to finish your accounting degree, it may be a bigger jump for you. But again, it's focusing on the skills that you have. So if you're just joining and you have a question, please feel free to put it down. I pick up on a first come, first served basis. And so the next question a lot of people do ask about is really about the UK job market. And that is one question I do get a lot of. And for me right now, as I've been talking all morning about, it's important when you're applying for jobs that you're strategic. And by strategic means that you're not just applying randomly to hundreds of jobs. You take a look, you read the job description, and then you align your CV to your CV that you're sending to the job and experience, because just sending out CVs may have worked when unemployment was lower, and just sending it out to anyone that may listen, where you maybe only match 50 or 60%. In this type of job market, it's not going to happen. So if you are looking, again, I do offer CV support service, and offering CV support along with additional services to help you navigate. The other question I do occasionally get is, how do you answer the question, tell me something about yourself? And that is a very strategic question. And that gets usually asked at the beginning of the interview. And there's two purposes to that question. One, it gets you talking about yourself, and people relax when they start to talk about yourself. It's a way to then start to transition into the interview. The second, what it is and isn't about. The question, tell me something about yourself, really is a summary of your career history up to that point, including why have you applied for the role and why have you selected that company to apply to. Because if you just sit there and talk about yourself, or you don't really talk about your career history, you may find that the rest of the interview is very difficult. I do find that if I do take a little bit more time to answer this question, a lot of times on the back end, it is a lot quicker, a lot faster. And it seems like it can save a lot of follow-up questions. So you can, with the tell me something about yourself question, you are able to kind of, for lack of a better word, front load any questions. Meaning that you can begin to answer questions that you may think they will ask you because of your CV. Hey, Jake, how are you? So yeah, so it is a way you can anticipate and kind of, deflect any questions that you feel that they may ask you, that you feel that you can address quickly. In that, tell me something about yourself. It really needs to be, ideally about 2 to 3 minute answer. But sometimes I've gone with those 5, but then, like I said, it becomes something that you can, address some of the questions and saves you on the back end, which again, sometimes does get appreciated because it does show that you thought it out, you prepared, and it saves them a bit of time. So they're always happy if you can save them a bit of time by addressing some of the questions that they already have. Hey, Charlie Sandy, good to see you. And HFV and Finish, good to see you all. So it is that type of question. You really need to go through and really kind of talk about your career history. Focus on your most recent role or your most previous role or your current role, whatever it is. Take a little time to talk about the rest of your history, and then why did you apply, and for this role, what attracted you. And it is a good way to answer it, and it does set the tone. If you do it right, you'll find most likely that the interview goes a lot smoother because it becomes more of a conversation. And then again, the other question I do get is, how do you keep yourself from getting nervous? Hey, Gulam. The way you keep yourself from being nervous is we all get nervous with interviews. And it's just a given. One of the ways I do always find to deal with it is first, be prepared, do a bit of preparation, prepare for the interview, be ready, familiarize yourself with the job description, the application you sent, your CV that you sent, learn something about the company, their values, and then take it from there, and take it from there and learn from that, and prepare that way. It's the more you can do a bit of preparation, the better off you will be in the interview, because at the end of the day, with it being so competitive, the one thing that they will add, one thing that that is really necessary is to be ready to answer questions, come across as though you took some time to prepare, because with 3 applicants for every vacancy, jobs and employers can be very selective and very picky. And if you come off as though you kind of winged it, it is not going to land you any jobs. So are you, it's hard to be taken advantage of if you work from home. Is this your own business that you own? Because it seems like this is your own business. Um, oh, well, thank you for the finger heart. Okay, so, hey, thank you for the roses. Um, if you're freelancing, then I don't think you are being taken advantage of, because if you're freelancing, then you are able to a certain extent dictate your terms. Um, the only thing your terms, your pay, you're able to negotiate to some extent on those. Um, what I would say is, if you're only making my only thing I would say to you is, if you're only making 15K and you're doing a lot of work, um, and you're freelancing, um, then I probably would say, look at other options, and how to manage it. I would also would say to if the foreign country, if um, you know, with the foreign freelancing for a foreign country, again, I would, if you are freelancing, take a look at the terms and conditions that they've given you, um, and think to yourself, I would say to you, take a look at your terms and conditions with that company. Um, Take a look at the number of hours, how you're paid and stuff, and see maybe potentially if you can renegotiate that, because it does seem to be very little pay for a lot of work. So I would say, take a look, and look at maybe, if you're freelancing, again, read the terms and conditions, see if you can work for other companies doing the same, and maybe look at expanding yourself, and looking at, um, start looking at, what else you're able to do to supplement your income. Because I think it's hard to say if you're being taken advantage of, but if you're working that much for so little, I think probably it may be worth re-examining, um, taking a look at and re-examining what you're doing. But it's hard to do on a live stream without very little. Okay, so if it's so if it's niche job, you enjoy it. Um, it may be something, again, without really seeing everything in front of me. It's always hard to say beyond giving some general advice, some very basic. It may be, if it is, if you're finding it's taking a lot of time, but you're getting very little, it may be worth looking at, is it time to move on? And again, you're the only one that can answer that. Is it time to move on? Hey Shay, good to see you. Is it time to move on? Is it possible to negotiate, some more, so you're making more? Is it, possible to bring on, if you're doing freelance, bringing on other organizations and maybe doing the same thing or something a little bit different, so that you're making more and it's not maybe potentially taking as much time. So I think it's worth kind of exploring, the different routes that may be available to you, and start to see, like I said, it's really hard without having the contract in front of me, knowing exactly what it is. and being able to sit down and getting a better grasp. But I would say, from what you've given me, I would say start, either look at renegotiating or looking at other options would be the advice I would give. I think it's probably it sounds like you may be at a point where where you need to think about making a bit of a change for yourself. And if you're able to do that, make a change, then you may be feeling a bit better. I think that's where it lies for yourself. So if you are just joining, and you do like the feed, please like, please share, please follow. Likewise, if you do like it and you want to let me know, best way to do it is to send gifts. But again, I'd say don't feel obligated, because sending gifts does help me to know what people like and what is resonating. And it helps me to plan my content along the way. So, yes. So if you do, hey, Strawberry Fields, good to see you. So yeah, if you have a question, feel free to put it down. I pick it up first come, first serve basis. I still have about, unless I get gifts, about another 15 minutes or so. Because when you do send gifts, it does extend the timer a bit. So it is a good way to get the information. So I'm Brian, Career Advice UK, and I do run and own Leap Forward Careers, Career Advice Career Support Service. I provide advice and support to job applicants with CVs, interviewing, career changes, starting their own business, and more. Also, too, businesses do want advice and support on hiring, and especially in the way as it relates to attracting disabled applicants. I am there for consultation. I do on leapstartcareers.com. I do also offer for downloads. Some are free, some are at a small cost. 2 books. One is Jobseekers Playbook 2026, regarding how to navigate the UK job application process this year, and also Career Change UK 2026, which is also in regards to making a career change. I do have disability guide, negotiating starting salary, templates, CV and cover letter templates, just to name a few. And also, too, I do provide services in the way of CV reviews, writing CVs for you. I do write CVs, provide interview support, and also in the way of prep, and also give advice with interviews. I do also run on the site leapstartcareers.com. I do have an interview test bank that asks random interview questions, and it gives you feedback on those questions. So you can get feedback on them. You can also ask it, how do you answer things like, tell me something about yourself. Why should we hire you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? It will provide you answers on questions. So any interview question that you've struggled with, it will provide you a structured response on how to answer it. So it is a very helpful. It's free, no obligation. It is a totally free service on the website for you to use to explore. It's available at leapstartcareers.com. So in the final 10 minutes, 12 minutes here, we'll be back tomorrow at 4 a.m. for your summertime, taking your questions. I would also too encourage you to take a look at Career Advice UK on TikTok. I have loads of videos on almost anything you can think of career related, CVs, CV gaps on your CV, ATS, application tracking software, UK job market. I've done a lot recently because it's been a big question recently on psychology degrees. I've done a lot on psychology degrees from almost every angle. That includes things like what can you do with a bachelor's degree? What are the gaps? How do you get a job with a bachelor's degree in psychology? And so there's a whole slew of those types of videos on the degree. Also have content regarding the UCAS and the UCAS application, personal profile, my thoughts and opinions on is it a fair system or not. But again, it's all there. So I got about 10 minutes here. More than happy to take a few more questions. If you want me to hang around a bit more, the one way to do it is to send gifts because it does extend the timer. Hey, Dr. Maurer, Eve, good to see you. So if you do have a question, just feel free to put it down below and I will pick it up first come, first served basis. And so to kind of finish up, because like I said, probably the biggest question I do get is in regards to psychology degrees at the bachelor's level. And what I will typically say at the bachelor's level, a lot of people will enter it blindly because people will think that that a bachelor's degree will allow you to do therapy, and that's based on what they see on TV, what people see on TV. You see a lot of people, TV shows. They got psychologists that helps them solve the crime, and you think that all you need is a bachelor's. It's not, and a lot of times I feel due to universities. My own personal opinion, strictly my opinion. I think universities do tend to oversell them because I think they will tell people and kind of lead people, not intentionally, but to believe that you could do, a lot more with them. What I think gets missed in the conversation is, yes, you can do a lot with a psychology degree, provided you have the additional training and support. So that means at the bachelor's level, if you want to do HR, typically you need to be CIPD certified. You need to have your membership and hold it and show that you've attained the required level for that role. Some will look at like occupational music therapy. It may serve as a foundation, but you still need to do the training and education to become a music therapist or occupational therapist. And again, with business management, it's a good way to open it up, but again, you still need the background business or IT, doing like front end user interfaces and stuff. It's good. It's a good way to do it. However, you know what? You still need to have that background in coding, programming to do it. So if you don't have that foundation to support that degree, the bachelor's degree in psychology, it is a very, for lack of a better word, dead-end degree. If you go on to do your master's in organizational behavior, organizational psychology, a Prince of Sarcasm and Lugas, it is a bit more of a road in to it. It's a bit of a road in. It's a way to get the degree. It is a, it is the best way to do it. So if you do just thinking maybe master's organizational psych, or if you're really disciplined, research psychology, if you get it and focus it on consumer behavior, market behavior, and do it more of an economic into things, because there is a lot of interest, potential there using that background for consumers. Now, at the PhD level, yes, you can do clinical psychology, but the thing that everyone needs to be aware of, roughly, if you're going to go through the NHS and to get it funded via the NHS, every year there's about 6,000 to 7,000 applicants for roughly 700 spots. You can do it the other route, is getting your PhD in clinical psychology. But again, it is a very difficult, very uphill battle because there are very limited spots and very limited number of universities. So all in all, you're probably talking maybe 10 spots. Each university maybe that offers clinical psychology, if you're lucky, may have 6 spots, up to 6 spots available. And it is a very limited number, so you're probably talking a few hundred spots at best. And to do it via the NHS, like I said, it's about 700 vacancies for about 6,000 to 7,000 applicants. Usually we'll need a lot of experience in NHS, like as an assistant psychologist, move into those types of roles. And if you don't, then it really becomes a very competitive process. And so at the end of the day, you may have spent, your time doing, Ohm's Law. You may have spent your time getting your degree, but it may wind up being very much a dead-end degree. The only other option I would say in the way of doing psychology degree is if you already have some job experience, you need a degree to move into advance into more of a senior role. A degree in psychology does provide you with the tools. It's good for analytical. It's good for logic. It is one where you do provide a lot of knowledge, you do go across, it covers science, it covers math, covers research, and kind of like the social science end of things. So it's a very good wide degree, but it's not specific enough where it can really lead to something at the bachelor's level. And if you really are thinking about doing a bachelor's of psychology, I would, unless you're prepared and able to get into the PhD route, I would really discourage you. Instead, I would encourage you to look at other options. So if you're somebody who's thinking you'd like to use the degree in psychology to get in social work, you're better off doing the social work. If you're wanting to do HR, you're better off with an HR degree. And again, if you are looking to do like occupational music therapy, you're better off going down the occupational music therapy route than getting a degree in psychology. Hey, Christine, good to see you in UKPS. Good. And Odd K, MJ07, good. And Metallica, good to see you all. So, yes, beginning to kind of come down to the last, thank you for the like. So if you're just joining, you do like the feed, please like, please share, please follow. And if you do really feel inclined, please think it's because it really does help me to know what people like. And but again, don't feel as though you have to, because it's up to you, but it does help me to know exactly what people like, and it helps me then to adjust my content, because I know then what people like, and it does help me. So yes, so if you are just, a UKPS, good to see you. So like I said, I'll be back tomorrow, 4 a.m. British Summer Time, taking your questions. In the meantime, check out Leap Start Careers UK on TikTok, as I do have a lot there. As part of my service, Leap Forward Careers, I am offering people who come to the live stream free CV review if they so choose. No pressure, no obligation. If you are finding that you send off your CV and don't get anything back, it's a good way to get some input. What's working, what's not. Again, I do have a lot of guides and templates, some free, some do have a small fee attached, but I would encourage you to take a look. Likewise, I do also offer some services at a charge. Happy to discuss them and kind of make it, if you feel the services I offer you're interested in but doesn't quite match what you want, happy to do a kind of a la carte ad hoc and give you an estimate on those. So again, always feel free. There is a contact form on leapstartcareers.com, along with the ability to book. To book some time with me, to ask anything. And again, always, if you want the free CV review, just feel free to message me with the word CV. I'm more than happy to do it. And I would say to you, take a time to check out leapstartcareers.com and see if there's anything there that you like, and help you along your way. So I will sign off right now. I will see you back tomorrow, 4 a.m. British Summertime. Thank you all.